Irish guy. And yeah, pretty simple. I know that July is not over yet, but lads, I'm gonna take a look at the weirdest non-Premier League transfer each day of the month so far. And lads, some of these are beyond strange. Right, let's go. First, Moussa Sissoko to Nantes. Okay, I can't be the only one who thinks that Moussa Sissoko has the work rate of a constipated frog. The fact that he's given the captaincy at Watford, that alone should give you some sort of clue that the managerial decisions being made at Vicarage Road were being made by granddads who probably need to have their Weetabix mashed up with a spoon. Sissoko has shown that at both Newcastle and Watford that he's got about as much appetite for a relegation battle as I do for fishing second-hand birthday cake out of a granny stool. Sissoko has finally quit England after nearly 10 years, signing for Nantes in a £1.7 million deal. I mean, it just seems unfair. He's been given a ticket back into the Europa League. He's actually going to be playing on Thursday nights. I mean, maybe even against the likes of Arsenal and Man United. Despite last season just being an overbloated tortoise who looked like he'd sooner be on a beach drinking tea than bothering to stick in a tackle, and he gets to escape the championship and just get a switch to a European club. I mean, it's the first time I've ever been jealous of someone getting picked up by Nantes, and I'm someone who still stinks of my uncle's sleeping bag. Second, HENRIKH MKHITARYAN to Inter Milan. Listen, I know HENRIKH MKHITARYAN did well at Roma, but still, at 33 years of age, here he is getting a dream move to Inter Milan and reuniting with Romelu Lukaku. I mean, in my head, having watched him squirm in the Premier League for big clubs like Man United and Arsenal, then honestly, he had the creativity of a tube of toothpaste. So to see his renaissance in Italy, I mean, it's nice for the Armenian, but honestly, he turns 34 in January and still playing for a European giant? In my head, I assume that now he'd be washed up on the beach in Turkey and stuffing his face with sausage rolls every 3 hours. So to be fair, what a move this is. Third, Lee Buchanan to Werder Bremen. Okay, hands up. Who would have predicted this transfer at the start of the summer? I mean, if you've got your hand up, then either you work for Werder Bremen or you just clearly like to lie. Lee Buchanan is a 21-year-old defender from Mansfield who's just been stuck in a financially crippled Derby County team where honestly, each player is probably told to bring a packed lunch to training. I'm guessing even a multi-millionaire like Wayne Rooney was probably told to get dressed in his car and get showered in the sink. And yet, this England under-21 international, I mean, this guy was linked to Celtic and Nottingham Forest in the spring and so chooses to instead extend his Derby contract in May, and then a month later he's clearly decided that actually League One stinks of mouldy cheese because he's just joined newly promoted Werder Bremen in the Bundesliga. Honestly, he had already committed to spending next season on buses to Cambridge and Port Vale, and now he's going to be marking the likes of Leroy Sané and Sadio Mane next year. Anyone else reckon that he's probably so nervous he could probably do a poo on the floor? Fourth, Frank Kessie to Barcelona. Frank Kessie was always going to join Barcelona from AC Milan, right? Well lads, this guy was an in-demand 25-year-old Ivorian beefcake midfielder, and apparently he's now on weekly wages of €260,000 a week. I'm sorry, but wasn't this club recently on the verge of probably having to rob from the trust donation box just so they could afford milk in the canteen fridge? Weren't they supposed to now have a bank account on par with Kirk Van Houten? I mean, don't they still owe Bordeaux money for when they bought Malcolm 4 years ago? And yet they're still able to wave big fat contracts in Kessie's face? I don't get it. Fifth, Divock Origi to AC Milan. I realise Liverpool fans love Divock Origi with a burning passion. I mean, this guy is the ultimate Anfield cult hero. But I'm sorry, a switch to AC Milan. I mean, sure, this is the type of transfer Milan might have made in 2018. You know, back when someone at the club thought that Fabio Borini from Sunderland was worthy of the shirt. I mean, that's a bit like stumbling across an old man in a midlife crisis who thinks that it's cool to grow a mohawk and get his eyelids pierced. Again, no, try and go on a date with someone looking like that and she'll probably pepper spray you in the face. AC Milan are supposed to be the big club back on top, a rejuvenated Serie A champions, and considering their two high-profile strikers at the club have a combined age of Robert De Niro, then a centre-forward was needed. But I'm sorry, your city rivals are signing a legit superstar like Romelu Lukaku, and you're signing a 27-year-old striker with less than 70 career goals? Someone once voted the worst signing in France? I mean, a summer transfer to Bournemouth or Southampton would have made sense. But AC Milan? I mean, don't say I didn't warn you lads, but honestly, by December, these Italian ultras are going to be so angry and fed up by his lack of goals, they'll be close to burning down their Christmas tree. Sixth, AXEL WITSEL to Atletico Madrid. To be honest, a Belgian midfield hyena like AXEL WITSEL joining the snarling Atletico Madrid project, it's not actually that weird. It does make sense in my brain, especially when you say it out loud, but I don't know, I just never envisaged this move happening. I mean, to me, he was already playing at a comfortable level at Borussia Dortmund, but I suppose, having played in Belgium, Portugal, Russia, China, and Germany, of course he was going to want to take Spain off his travel list. But I don't know, to me, I never saw it coming. 7th, Karamoka Debele to Brest. To me, this just makes me sad. I remember when I first began making videos on the internet, and this kid, this Celtic wonder kid, Karamoka Debele, was a future Ballon d'Or winner according to the Scottish press, right? Christ, well, even at just 13 years of age, he had creepy journalists from Motherwell and Dundee salivating over him as if he was made of steak. I mean, this was the latest in a string of Dembeles. Honestly, for a while there, it looked like that name was taking over the sport, but now, despite having represented both Scotland and England at underage level, his Celtic dream is now over at 19. I mean, they finally given up on this supposed wonder kid, selling him to Brest for £1 million. I mean, he's essentially gone from playing Scottish reserve games to League One. And soon, he's going to be sharing a pitch with Lionel Messi. That is insane, but honestly, Celtic fans, you must feel a bit sad. 8th, Luka Jovic to Fiorentina. Luka Jovic once cost Real Madrid €60 million. I mean, that same summer, he'd also be linked with the mammoth move to Chelsea. Lads, I knew he would flop at the Bernabeu, but even I didn't envisage 3 goals in 3 years. Honestly, surely, one of the worst transfers of all time. And the fact he's just been chucked on Fiorentina's doorstep for free. Oh, what a laughable fall from grace. 9th, Pierluigi Golini to Fiorentina. Yeah, another Fiorentina transfer. They were busy that week, but Pierluigi Golini's career baffles me. I was confused when at just 26, this former Aston Villa flop, having rebuilt his career as Atalanta #1, was now swapping the Champions League and just agreeing to sign up to be Joe Hart's replacement on the Tottenham bench, and only on loan as well. Sure, there were rumours that he was going to be groomed as the long-term successor to Hugo Lloris, who, let's be honest, is getting to an age now where he's probably stinking of early menopause. But no, Golini is now just on a loan deal at Fiorentina, the club he'd initially left as a teenage boy to sign for Man United at 17. Oh, this is all just so bizarre. 10th, Remy Cabella to Lille. Yeah, so apparently Lille are making a club policy to just sign former Newcastle French wingers. I mean, clearly the Hatem Ben Arfa project last season just crumbled into wet dust, so they've gone out and replaced him with former Newcastle lightweight misfit Remy Cabella. Again, Lille are just making transfers that Alan Pardew did 9 years ago. I mean, Paulo Fonseca, what are you doing? Considering Lille were in the Champions League and were reigning French champions last season, then to now be buying a washed up gingerbread man on a 1-year deal? About as inspiring as being told to go and eat lasagna in the shower. 11th, Andrei Yarmolenko to Al-Ain. You know what? Good for him. Andrei Yarmolenko is a Dynamo Kiev legend who's played for West Ham, right? Yeah. Sergei Rebrov did exactly that too. I mean, they almost have an identical CV. And now, weirdly, he's his manager at Al-Ain. It's a nice reunion for 2 Ukrainian legends, and I understand why he did it. But again, considering he was scoring important goals in the second half of the season for West Ham, I mean, I thought they'd sooner keep it. 12th, Lewis Ferguson to Bologna. Okay, I realise that Bologna love their Scottish starlet Aaron Hickey, but to immediately go and sign another guy from that country, to me, it just seems a bit bizarre. I mean, it's a bit of a weird obsession. I mean, what next? You find the Bologna president watching the Trainspotting DVD in the nude? Apparently, Lewis Ferguson, a 22-year-old Aberdeen midfielder who looked odds on to return to Rangers, I mean, he suddenly had both Bologna and Lecce fighting over him. Well, he's now wrapped up a £3 million switch to play in the same dressing room as Marko Arnautovic and Gary Medel. I mean, this guy just looks like your typical British 23-year-old who probably watches Joe Weller and spends his weekends eating mushy peas off the floor with their spoons. So playing in Italy, honestly, seems a bit weird. 13th, Josh Doig to Hellas Verona. Yeah, here's another Scot in Italy. 20-year-old Edinburgh-born Hibernian left-back Josh Doig has just signed for Hellas Verona. You know, a team in the top half of Serie A. I mean, this scruffy Scottish child is leaving Easter Road to play with a football megastar like Miguel Veloso. Someone this kid probably used to read about in Match Magazine age 6. I mean, he's suddenly going to be in the same team as Diego Simeone's son. Again, what's with the invasion of the Scots in Serie A? 14th, Arturo Vidal to Flamengo. Here's a transfer which nobody is talking about. But Arturo Vidal, this man's name has probably appeared in the British transfer gossip column more than any other over the last decade. Without fail, every summer, this man was always linked with a transfer. I mean, Christ, well, go back to 2014 and 2015, and Manchester United fans were convinced he was coming to Old Trafford. Honestly, he was like Wesley Sneijder Part 2. Vidal has been a distinctive midfield icon in European football for the last 15 years. Honestly, he's a bit like Edgar Davids without the goggles. Someone who, thank God he's good at football, because looking like that, he was never exactly going to get a job working down the library. I mean, he looks a bit like a scary gargoyle who would probably gladly go down the zoo after dark just so he could strangle the pandas and eat them with a spoon. But he's quit Inter Milan and Europe and signed for Flamengo in Brazil, where he's only the second player in the squad who's not actually Brazilian. Honestly, it feels like an end of an era. Vidal, he's really gone, and he's not coming back. Now he just sounds like KSI crying in the gym. 15th, BREEL EMBOLO to Monaco. Remember when BREEL EMBOLO was that Swiss wonderkid winger with bags of pace and who had the attention of all the top clubs in Europe? Well, he's since left Borussia Mönchengladbach and signed for Monaco. Don't get me wrong, it's a good move for him and it's a ticket back into the Champions League, but this man, he surely had big money Premier League move written all over his face, right? I don't know, this transfer caught me a bit off guard. 16th, Hugo Ekitike to PSG. I'm gonna say this, Hugo Ekitike has the bravery and courage of that sack of mucus lion of the Wizard of Oz. I'm sorry, Hugo, but the £40 million move to Newcastle was agreed. That was first team football in the Premier League, and all he had to do was just sign the contract, and suddenly this 20-year-old Reims wonder kid would be in the biggest league in the planet. Instead, he's just signed for PSG? On loan? I mean, 2 seasons ago, this guy was scoring 3 goals on loan in Denmark, and now, magically, he's at PSG without even so much as scoring a single goal for France's underage teams. Why Reims would agree to send him on loan when there's not even an obligation to buy? It's just an option to buy for £35 million next summer. But how is he going to impress the PSG chiefs when he'll spend the next 9 months eating ice cream on the bench? This entire transfer, it stinks, Hugo. 17th, JARRAD BRANTHWAITE to PSV. I mean, who saw this one coming? JARRAD BRANTHWAITE, a 20-year-old Everton bench-warming centre-back and former Carlisle defender. Suddenly, he's playing alone at PSV and being coached by Ruud van Nistelrooy. I mean, to be fair, this guy was born in 2002, so honestly, he's probably ignorant to how good Ruud actually was. I mean, to be fair, he might not even recognise who he is. I mean, to JARRAD, RVN might as well have spent his 30s working at the airport. But honestly, BRANTHWAITE, you're playing under a living legend, and you don't even know it. 18th, Leo Østigård to Napoli. I get that this is probably the Norway golden generation, but no. Napoli were just forced to sell their defensive man-mountain Kalidou Koulibaly to Chelsea. And so the first thing they do is go out and sign Leo Østigård from Brighton's reserves. You know, the 22-year-old behind Shane Duffy in the pecking order. A guy who signed for them nearly half a decade ago and is still yet to make his debut. Instead, just stuffed out on loans to St. Pauli, Coventry and Stoke. I mean, Graham Potter looks like he'd rather shove hamburgers up his nose than even acknowledge that this boy exists, so Napoli? How random can you get? 19th, Robert Lewandowski to Barcelona. Again, Barcelona are supposed to have no money. To me, there are some players who just fit Real Madrid more than Barcelona. For example, Zlatan Ibrahimovic was someone who was clearly a Real Madrid Galactico. I mean, his monster ego didn't really fit into the new camp. Also, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Memphis Depay, and even Miralem Pjanic. These players had Real Madrid written all over their face. And Lewandowski, I don't get why he's so desperate to join this club. I mean, he should know more than any other what stake they're in. It was only 2 seasons ago. He's playing for a team which stuck 8 goals into the Barcelona net. I mean, even last season, he played against them twice. The aggregate score was Barcelona 0, Bayern Munich 6. So why was he so desperate to join? It's like getting up close to that homeless woman at the airport. You know, the one who drinks cat piss for tea and wanting to leave your wife for her? Just what? 20th, Paulo Dybala to Roma. The power of Jose Mourinho. Next, 21st, Oriol Busquets to Aruca. This is kind of sad. Oriol Busquets is not actually related to Sergio, but weirdly, Sergio, despite being a Barcelona legend, has actually only been at Barcelona for 3 more years than Oriol. I mean, Oriol joined in 2007, aged 8, and was being moulded in the academy as the next defensive midfielder wonder star. I mean, if he had lived up to the hype, then the Barcelona coaches could have had a homegrown Busquets as the anchor in their midfield for a solid 40 years. But he's 23 now, finally quit Barcelona last summer for Clermont Foot. And yeah, it looked like he was going to get regular first team football and take France by storm. Nah, he's given up after a year and has now just signed for Aruca FC in Portugal. Bit sad. 22nd, Dani Alves to Pumas. Dani Alves is still playing football. This man is a magnet for trophies. But most players would have taken the hint and just retired after being released by Barcelona at 39. But this guy, he's now decided to uproot his family and move to Mexico with Club Universidad, or Pumas. And this isn't even just an easy league title to tick off his bucket list. No, this is still a massive challenge. They haven't won the league since 2011 and just finished 11th in the league. And this guy turns 40 in May. What are you doing, Danny? Put your feet up on the couch. 23rd, ANDRI GUDJOHNSEN to Norrkoping. Again, this is a bit sad, this. ANDRI GUDJOHNSEN, yes, the son of either, is a 20-year-old London-born striker who'd been on the books of Real Madrid for 4 years. Considering his dad and granddad played together for Iceland, it would have been nice to see this guy morph into a Bernabeu superstar, but now he's just got a permanent move to Sweden with Norrkoping. A bit of a shame that. 24th, Wesley Moraes to Levante. Weirdest thing about this is that it's just a loan. Wesley Moraes is an injury-riddled Aston Villa flop. Instead of just, I don't know, stuffing his contract in a bin, he's been loaned out a third time. This time to Levante to play in Spain's second tier. I mean, 3 years ago he was a £22 million signing and playing for Brazil. But looking at these transfers, you'd swear he was 33. Now, he's a 25-year-old, but who clearly has a knee about as stable as a pig's bowels. Just, what a shame. 25th, Cesc Fabregas to Como. This makes me sad. Cesc Fabregas is one of the greatest footballers of the 21st century, and yet at 35, has now agreed to sign for Como in Serie B. The same club who last year were helping to keep Jack Wilshere fit. I mean, clearly they're just now a part-time rehab clinic for washed-up Arsenal stars of 2010. I assume they'll probably be inviting Samir Nasri to come for a picnic in the park. 26th, Luis Suarez to Nacional. Luis Suarez has left Europe, again 16 years after quitting Nacional to move to Holland. But he's now back at Nacional in Uruguay, getting the chance to move back to South America and rejoin his boyhood club. I'm guessing that right now, Sergio Aguero is probably reading the story and is so jealous he's probably bleeding from the eyes. 27th, Kim Min-jae to Napoli. What is it with Napoli and their weird centre-back replacements? Kim Min-jae, 25-year-old defender who was bought after just one season at Fenerbahce, you know, playing in a league where Stephen Cocker is excelling. And before that, Beijing Guan and Jeonbik Hyundai Motors. Really, Napoli? This is the guy? Anyway, so what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Tell me your weird transfers from the month. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe as always. I'll talk to you in a while.